Episode number 94, making the case. Do we build in relationships or seek validation? Let's get it. What up, YouTube? Once again, I'm your gracious host, Dr. Jacob Isom, educator, author, speaker, entrepreneur, content creator, consultant, father, a little bit of everything. Back at you with another episode of Making a Case, episode number 94. Yes, we're getting very, very close to episode 100. I got some real special plan for you. So definitely stay tuned to that. Who knows? We might even go live for that one. But I'll definitely let you know what's going on with the 100th episode. But today we're talking about validation versus building when it comes to a relationship. But before I get into my opening statement, of course, we got to go over our two channel norms. One, we'll take points and not people. And then two, we don't do all the cussing, derogatory stuff because we like to keep things professional over here. All right. So let's get into it. So that you know what I mean before we get into our video clips and break down what we mean by seeking validation versus building, right? So everybody has heard of the term validation. I don't think there's a need to really define it for you. You are a very small audience. So but I want to let you know what I mean by seeking validation versus building in a relationship. So I believe now this is the case that I'm making, right? That a lot of us seek validation in a relationship because one, a lot of us don't know our purpose. Two, a lot of us don't truly know who we are. And three, a lot of us are pleasure seekers, right? So we look for enjoyment through other people, right? So a lot of people won't even go out by themselves because they want to be connected and attached to somebody who makes them feel good, right? So that's what I mean by seeking validation. So a lot of people get into relationships to make them feel good about themselves. Some people are afraid to be alone. Okay. I myself, I enjoy alone time. Sometimes I think I enjoy it too much. So I'm a little bit on the other end of the spectrum, but to be honest with you, I'm a very social person. It's kind of weird, but I think I got a pretty good balance. That I'm not socially awkward, but well, at the same time, I definitely enjoy my alone time. All right, but there are a lot of us out there that um, are always in a relationship, right? Um, People that really don't spend a good amount of time when they're single to really kind of assess their situation, assess their life, where they're going, how did the last relationship fail, things of that nature, right? Some people are definitely codependent on others, all right? Versus when I say building in a relationship, right? We understand that we are social creatures, right? That men and women need each other. I've talked about this on a previous episode. So when you get with someone of the opposite sex or same sex, I mean, I guess I have to say it, right? You're looking to build with one another. Two becomes one. Like it's almost like you eventually start finishing other sentences. Now, you're interdependent. You're not codependent, right? You still have a sense of self. You still have a purpose, right? But two people become one. Two people understand the dynamic of a relationship that is interdependent, where that everything get magnified, right? It's like, yes, I'm happy by myself, but when I'm with you, it's like, man, I'm over the roof, right? So that's what I mean by building. And I think there is a lot of people out there that are not building with their partner or building with their spouse, building with their husband, their wife. Like we're just kind of coexisting and we seeking validation. All right. So that is the case that I'll be making in this episode. Once again, I got another great one for you. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video clips that I have for you. Um, my piece of evidence number one. So let's do it.
Love validation and agreement in our relationships. Hearing the words, yes, you are amazing, is a beautiful thing. So, why are the strongest relationships the ones where we don't need others to validate or agree with us? It's because strength in relationships comes from being fully capable on your own, where you know what you want with the relationship and choose into it. Needing others to validate you by agreeing with what you are thinking, feeling, or doing, or giving you what you want, creates unstable relationships. In reality, this is how we avoid deeper relationships. So if you want a deeper relationship, leave the stories and emotional distractions you used to avoid it behind and start focusing on your intentions around it. We love validation and agreement in our
teens, I realized I had a serious issue with, I just loved being loved. Mm-hmm. And so I was always kind. I was always a gentleman. I was always like generous. But I realized that in my teens, I would go above and beyond to want someone to fall in love with me. And that's all I wanted. All I actually wanted was for someone to fall in love with me. And it didn't actually matter who it was sometimes. Like, it wasn't even that I really liked them or knew them or understood them. I just wanted that feeling of, this person loves me. And what would often happen is they would fall in love with me because I would be the perfect guy by giving them gifts and remembering this and whatever it was. And then I would feel like they're not giving me anything back. Now I feel like I'm the one who's doing all the loving and there's no love back, which I've only created myself because of my crazy cycle. I would then break up with them because I didn't feel loved. And then I'd feel like I was the victim and that I'd been the one not treated well. In my teens, I realized I had a serious issue.
A lot of people struggle with being addicted or dependent to external validation or belonging. And I want to ask y'all a simple question. How do I become independent of the charity of others to feed me? How do I no longer become dependent on other people's pantries for food? I have to have my own pantry that's stocked. See, you only need external validation when you are not happy with yourself. External validation is when there is a lack of internal validation. See, narcissism involves a dependence upon the opinions of others. This is why narcissists can't tolerate criticism. Because if you tell me that I am a bad person, I don't feel good on the inside, so your opinion determines my reality. Narcissism is about insecurity. It's insecurity at its root. Because if I believed in myself, I don't need your approval.
Validation to me is recognizing that your and everyone else's experience makes sense in the context of them, and that everything that you feel and that they feel and perceive arises from a very real experience. These things don't come from nowhere. Our protective patterns are grounded in a very real experience that we're having, in a very real perception of threat or fear or danger or risk. And against that backdrop, we can start to see that we make sense. And so when we're in relationship, being more validating of someone else is stepping into their shoes and seeking to really see a situation from their point of view, rather than being so firmly grounded in ours that we are spending all of our time and energy trying to convince them of our way of seeing things, because we're locked in this worldview where only one of us can be right. Validation to me.
All right, that was my first piece of evidence, and I don't know if you get to pick up on the theme of those clips. But what we're talking about is external validation, right? Now, to be honest with you, we all exhibit it in some form or fashion. Of course, I always talked about there are different levels to it, right? Some people on the lower end where they shy away from people's attention, such as speaking and other things like that. While other people are extreme where they posting selfies every 5 minutes and particularly women, right? You'll see a lot of times on social media, women seek that validation when it comes to their sexual appeal, right? So they're always taking selfies, they always in something scantily clad, things of that nature. But I mean, most of us, is not all of us, seek external validation in some shape or form. But once again, it's whether or not it's healthy or not, right? Because when it comes to a romantic relationship, we do want some type of validation from our partner to let it know, okay, yes, that you're happy, I'm happy, and these things are going in the right direction, right? But as one of the clips so like you want to be whole going into a relationship, right? You don't want to be that person that is kind of empty and you're seeking somebody else to come pour into your cup. All right. No, you already want to come full, right? And when you do hit lows and when you do go through things, yes, that person can be there as a crutch, as a support system, but they shouldn't be someone that you codependent on, you always relying on to help you get through, because you have to be competent and you have to be able to thrive and survive on your own outside of that person, right? Remember, two people are supposed to come together and blossom instead of what I feel like what we see a lot nowadays is we see a lot of people that's coming with a lot of baggage, a lot of trauma, right? And now when things are not going right, they explode, they end a relationship, things can get violent, etc. Right? Typically those people who are the most successful in relationships, well, I'm gonna hold on for that because we're gonna talk about that in our last clips of the video. So I'm gonna hold that thought. All right. So that was my first piece of evidence. Let's go ahead and move into my second piece of evidence when we're talking about validation versus building a relationship. Let's do it.
I want that relationship to prove to me how good I am. So when it isn't proving that, then I get upset with my partner, well, except the gap is inside me, not inside. It's not coming from her. So it showed up in my parenting. It shows up all over the place. I want that relationship to prove to me how good I am. So when it isn't proving.
Control your emotions and never beg for attention, love, or care. If someone doesn't want to talk to you, don't force them, because forced relationships don't last much longer. So why shatter your soul for temporary gain? Hold yourself together and distance yourself for the sake of your mental and emotional well-being. You're a good person. You're just trying to prove it to the wrong one. The right one will never let you beg for anything. People don't neglect those they love. They neglect either because you are no longer useful to them or they don't want you to be the part of their life. Don't ever forget that. So be strong and value your sanity. Don't try to paint a different picture of them after experiencing all the red flags. Control your emotions and never beg for attention.
She said, if you have to go out there to get validation, guess where you got to go when you run out? You got to go back out there and get some more. So you got to go back to the well to get some more water when you run out of water. Right. And so I think that is the problem, is that these people are in need of something and they fill it with people, with other people. And she said, if you have to go out there to get validation, guess where you got to go when you run out? You got to go back out there and get some more. So you got to go back to the well to get some more water when you run out of water. Right. And so I think that is the problem.
Now, what codependents tend to do is they tend to not have a strong sense of self. So they really look to others to validate themselves, especially in their relationships. You might rely on your marital status to feel good about yourself, or how well or accomplished your kids are, or whether or not you're in a relationship. All of those things can determine how you feel about yourself. The problem is that those things we can't control. Now, what codependents tend to do is they tend to not have a strong sense of self. So they really look to others to validate themselves, especially in their relationships. You might rely on your marital status to feel good about yourself, or how well or accomplished your kids are, or whether or not you're in a relationship. All of those things can determine how you feel about yourself. The problem is that those things we can't control. Now, what codependents tend to do is they tend to not.
All right, that was my second piece of evidence. And what I really took for those clips was the fact that if you're not whole, then you're always going to seek validation, right? It's going to be very difficult in a relationship to build something successfully long term if you always seeking a sense of self in other people or through other people, right? So those people who, as the last clip said, are people who are codependent, people who are very needy, people who are always asking, "Hey, does this look good on me?" Or that you could tell those people who are really searching for approval, right? And a lot of times, unfortunately, it has to do with single parent household, missing that connection with family, not having those social systems, friendships, and things of that nature around you, or healthy relationships when it comes to family and friends and things of that nature. So people that constantly seek that validation, they're missing something inside of them, right? And like I said, we find this when it comes to people who are in the relationships and in the marriages, of the fact that a lot of times it's something inside. Anytime, and you hear this a lot, people saying that they're not happy, right? Well, happiness comes from within. Happiness comes from knowing that you have a sense of self, that you have a purpose, right? That you have an understanding of who you are. So the people out here claiming to be unhappy or unfulfilled in a relationship are really projecting, because happiness, it comes from you, right? Now, can somebody, as I already mentioned, amplify your happiness, right? Because they're supposed to be added to it, not taken away, right? Now, yes, it can be a situation where you get with somebody and now you lose yourself, right? Which would make you unhappy, such as domestic violence and you being around someone who is a heavy drug user and things of that nature. Absolutely. But once again, those are few and far in between. A lot of time we like to talk about the exception and not the rule. The rule is the fact that people are divorcing or leaving people because they're not happy, because of money issues, because of infidelity, right? Irreconcilable differences. That's why people are breaking up and leaving people. Okay. So what we really truly missing is we missing a sense of self. So a lot of time we'll seek validation through other means, right? Whether that's, and I see this a lot of time when it comes to women and their children. A lot of women will seek validation through their kids, or a lot of fathers will seek validation through their sons when it comes to sports and things of that nature, right? So we also see it in the parenting aspect just as much as we see in the relationship aspect. So it's just one thing to pay attention to. All right. So we're going to go and wrap this episode up with our third piece of evidence. And we're going to talk about building in a relationship and what that looks like. Let's get it.
What's wrong with life? Nothing. I have no money. Who cares? We're in love, right? When you love somebody, what will you do for them? What? If they say to you, would you take out the trash? You go, take out the trash. What else can I do for you? But after 7 days or 7 years or 70 years, somewhere between 7 hours and 70 years, people suddenly make a change. And they go, could you take out the trash? You go, what do I look like? You're a janitor. We used to have so much passion. I don't know what happened. I'll give you a clue. If you're coming to the end of the relationship, treat that person like it was the beginning of the relationship and you won't find the end. Because in the beginning of the relationship, you brought an energy, didn't you? You brought a state. You brought a certain emotion. It wasn't about you. How many of you in the beginning of the relationship excited you to light them up, to make them feel happy, made you happy? Make some noise if that's true. But after a while, you get in a state of, what are they giving me? When you start measuring, it's no longer love. Now it's a transaction. When you're in love, what's wrong?
And you think the right person will come around. Well, first of all, that's a delusion to begin with, because you build a relationship, you don't find one. Now, you should have some sense when you pick your partner, to the degree that you have the luxury to have some sense. But the notion that the person right for you will come along at the right time, that's just not the case. That isn't how things work at all. And you think the right person will come around. Well, first of all, that's a delusion to begin with, because
So you sacrificing for the sake of your partner is not toxic or non-toxic. The only thing that makes it toxic or not is whether your partner is willing to do the same for you. And the best relationships are when I am willing to put someone ahead of me and they are willing to put me ahead of them. And when both of us prioritize the other person, then it's actually really healthy. It's great because now you have someone who cares about you more than they care about themselves. And that person's like on your team. That's awesome. So you sacrificing for the sake of your partner is not toxic or non-toxic. The only thing that makes it toxic or not is whether your partner is willing to do the same for you. And
flip this on its head. If you want to have the best, amazing romantic relationship, you need to focus on great communication, closing loops in your conversations, making space and time for that, making good, open, honest communication a priority, fostering emotional connection, spending time going deeper than beyond the surface level, resolving conflicts so we don't get that slow boil like the frog in the pot, and resolve and practice forgiveness. If I flip this on its head.
All right, there you have it. That was my third piece of evidence. So, of course, we focus on building in a relationship. So, instead of coming into a relationship broken, traumatized, seeking external validation, when you get with a person and how you build with somebody, in order to build a relationship with somebody, it has to be sacrificial. Right? That's the first thing you got to start. You have to understand that you're not going to be you anymore. Right? Now, you're going to be you, but the purpose and the intention is for you to be a better you. That is what you're seeking. All right. And in order to do that, you have to sacrifice. You have to communicate. You have to be honest. You have to be trustworthy. All right. Like all these concepts, all these tenets, all these are things that is going to keep you lasting in the long haul. You got to understand conflict resolution. Like the young lady said, you got to understand forgiveness. Right. All these things that money cannot buy. If you focus on the material and the financial, this is the reason why a lot of our relationships are not lasting and are not working. Because we focus on things we think that we can buy people. Because so many of our relationships are transactional, we think that because of what we get, we can keep people around. But that's only temporary, though. Because what people truly, genuinely seek is somebody that's consistent, somebody that's honest, somebody they can trust, somebody that's loyal, somebody that's forthcoming, transparent. That's what people truly want. That's how you build a relationship. All right. I think that's a great place to kind of end things off, man. Definitely hit me up at rcdconsultancy.com if you want a one-on-one or you want a couple of counseling. We could definitely go over these things with you. Of course, my social handles are in my description. Pick up my latest book on the relationship guide, the business science and reasoning right there. And hey, I appreciate your continued support, man. And I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be me without you. I do it for the people. So I just want you to know that. So as always, I'm you, you're me. Love always, love eternal. Remember, the worst thing you can do is lie to yourself. And I think we just made that case, baby. All right. Deuces. One love.